One of the first things you learn about Warhammer 40k is that the Space Marines are the toughest and the most elite soldiers in this setting. So naturally, to be this strong, you have to be pretty damn durable. Space Marines are equipped with the best armor and the strongest weapons that the Imperium has to offer. Space Marines are clad in what is called power armor. This is the standard for every Marine barring those who remain in training, such as the Scout Marines present in most chapters' 10th Company. Even then, they wear a lesser form of said power armor. Either that, or you are a Marine in one of my mate's homebrew chapters, you know who you are. But power armor isn't the strongest armor available to Space Marines, but then what is? Is it Gravis armor, or Centurion battlesuits? No, the toughest armor that Space Marines have on hand is Terminator Armour, the thickest, most durable, most awesome of all Space Marine war gear. Terminators find their origins, funnily enough, outside of the ranks of Space Marines, with the first suits of Terminator armor being made for the Emperor's own Custodian Guard. Alurus and Aquilon Terminators, created at some point which remains unclear to us, presumably during or just before the Unification Wars, but it wouldn't be until the end of said Unification Wars that the Space Marines would get debuted. With their arrival, the first marks of Space Marine Terminator armor would come into existence also. Terminator armor provides the Space Marines supreme durability at the cost of speed. Very few Marines across the series have been able to adapt to this lack of speed, but those that do are fierce fighters strong enough to overcome the biggest downside of this armor. Thanks to the size of this gear, Terminators are able to bear stronger weapons such as plasma cannons, chain guns, storm bolters, and close combat tools like power fists, thunder hammers, and lightning claws. To make these dudes one step more scary to face, they have the ability of teleportation. On every Terminator, whether it be on the shoulder like Saturnine and Indomitus, or hidden within the armor like it is with Cataphracti, an emblem called Crux Terminatus sits. This is their teleporter, allowing them to deep strike behind enemy lines and wreck house. Thanks to their durability, they are favoured in clearing out abandoned starships and space hogs, things usually infested with orcs or gene stealers, which, to less heavily armoured foes, proves to be a harder thing to clear. Funnily enough, in real life, Terminators would find their origins in a board game from the mid-1990s called Space Hulk. The first type of Terminator armor, also known as Tactical Dreadnought armor, would be a predecessor to a make that would come later on towards the times of the Horus Heresy, this being the Saturnine Terminator armor. This suit of armor will be created by a Mechanicum offshoot based on the moons of Saturn, the world that would give this suit its name. Most iconic for its incredibly bulky design and the insanely huge shoulder pads it sports, this suit would be fielded during the late Unification Wars and early Great Crusade. This suit's small lifetime is because it came with a lot of flaws for its users, these most notably being severe mobility issues, limited fields of vision, and insufficient power distribution across the suit, something that would be later addressed right before the Horus Heresy by the Primarch of Vulcan. After the problems seen in Proto-Saturnine became a growing issue to the Legion's effectiveness at the Crusade, a new suit of heavy armor would have to be developed, so the Mechanicum would come out with Cataphracti. This suit of armor would become a mainstay amongst all 20 legions without exception. This would also be the outset of seeing the tradition of having the most important members of any given legion and later down the line chapter bear Terminator plate. Cataphracti would famously be used by first captains frequently, notably Ezekiel Abaddon of the Lunar Wolves being widely regarded as one of, if not the best Terminator fighters of the time period, being described as moving as if he wore regular power armor, something that thanks to their sheer weight is rather impressive. Famous for its layered shoulder pads and tassels hanging around prominent parts of the armor, this suit would see fielding well beyond the Horus Heresy, but thanks to the loss of knowledge over the course of the next 10,000 years, few chapters currently bear Cataphracti armor. Some notable chapters that do are Minotaurs and Carcharodons. Tartarus pattern Terminator armor is a lighter Terminator plate developed in the later years of the Great Crusade. This suit of armor would attempt to improve upon Cataphracti through having lighter plating whilst giving similar protection provided from Cataphracti gear, but what made them unique more than anything else was their integration of advanced servo motors inside of the armor, allowing for an increased movement speed compared to its predecessors. Users gain the ability to run whilst wearing this gear. The main downside of Tartarus would come in its lesser armor than what came before, making it rather unpopular suit amongst the legions. Alongside this, the extra servo systems would require extra tuning, and wider errors and malfunctions would become known during combat expeditions. This would lead to Tartarus pattern armor being less favoured by legions like the Lunar Wolves and Imperial Fists, but heavily deployed in legions such as Alpha Legion and Raven Guard. Within the last few years of the Great Crusade, the Primarch Vulcan would revisit and tune the old Saturnine gear, working on ironing out the kinks which made it fall out of favour in the legions during the Great Crusade's early days. Vulcan would set out to fix these issues, redesigning the servo system's architecture, allowing for a smoother movement, making Saturnine users be a lot more effective in close combat. He would alter and change the helm interface of the gear, improving the response time of these marines and cutting out the previously seen issues in sensors and limited vision. Finally, Vulcan would streamline the suit and do work on the Crux Terminatus emblems present in the previous suit, adding to them by providing one in each shoulder pad, making the Saturnine Terminator Armour into the suit with the most precise teleportation across the series. Vulcan would send these plans out to the other legions after testing them amongst his own legion, the Salamanders, beforehand. Most of these plans would be received in the weeks before the outset of the Horus Heresy, with some legions such as the Iron Warriors receiving them just before the Dropsite Massacre on Istvan V. Indomitus pattern Terminator armor is what is usually regarded as the generic Terminator armor that is thought of when one thinks of a Terminator. It would also be this pattern that would feature in the board game Space Hulk. Being developed shortly after the Horus Heresy, it would be created with the purpose of being a more cost-effective form of Terminator armor comparatively to its predecessors. Indomitus pattern armor would be standardized in the writings of the Codex Astartes. Indomitus would offer the new Space Marine chapters of the Second Founding a nice middle ground between the more durable but significantly slower Cataphracti and the weaker but faster Tartarus. Unlike previous older sets of Terminator armor, the knowledge of production of Indomitus would remain within the Imperium, whereas the older suits would not. A very common misinterpretation seen within the 40k fandom, with a lot of people believing Terminator plate as a whole is something that is dying out. This is completely untrue. This pattern would be revolutionized come the return of Rabute Gilman and the introduction of the stronger Primaris Marines to the galaxy as a whole. For with them came the new and improved Primaris Indomitus pattern that really has no changes from its non-Primaris siblings, besides being larger to accommodate for the bigger Marines piloting. With the mainstay suits out of the way, it's time to tell you about some of the more obscure patterns of Terminator armor from across the series as a whole. During the latter years of the Great Crusade, the Iron Hands would produce their own form of Terminator armor that would be designated Gorgon, a name derived from the nickname of their Primarch, Ferrus Manus. This suit would be developed on the homeworld of the Legion, Medusa, featuring never-before-seen features to Terminator armor, such as a reactive plating that could distribute electromagnetic and kinetic energy as a flashbang-type weapon, disorienting nearby foes. This suit would be heavily augmented for neural interfacing, allowing for the cybernetically enhanced Iron Hands to operate this type of armor with brutal efficiency, making it harder for non-chapter members to deploy with the suit in their own arsenals. Despite all this, these supremely useful features, it was way too costly to be mass-produced, with the few suits that remain around in the 41st millennium lauded as relics within the Iron Hands and their various successor chapters. During the Great Crusade, the Iron Warriors Legion would produce their own special variant of Terminator armor to assist them in their particular form of combat, this being anti-siege warfare. Hence, Tyrant pattern would be born. Now this is a severely boring type of armor in my opinion, as it is literally just Cataphracti armor, but with the added installation of missile launchers built into the plate, a feature that would find its way to the Indomitus pattern anyways. In my opinion, quite a waste of time. Moving on from that, Thorough pattern Terminator armor is a rather exclusive type of Terminator armor reserved for the Marines of the Deathwatch Space Marine chapter. What makes this armor unique from others is that it is apparently tailor-made for conflicts against Xenos, emphasizing modular weapon integration and inbuilt sensor arrays made for adaptability in void or alien environments, reserved for only the most veteran operatives of the chapter. Next on our list is a lesser known suit currently only known to be used by the Minotaur's Space Marine chapter. There's not much to be said about Arcanak, but what we do know is that the suit's adapted for siege warfare, like the Tyrant plate of the past. is noted for its enhanced structural integrity compared when facing other Imperial forces, as the Minotaurs regularly do. Fucking weirdos. Aegis Armour will be the final one on this list, for I cannot be asked to talk on the Custodes patterns of Terminator Armour just yet. When I eventually get around to doing something more on Custodes, I will cover Aquilon and Aloris patterns then, but for now we will finish off with the Grey Knight's special kind of Terminator Armour, Aegis. This suit incorporates the Grey Knight's psychic wards through their Mark III Crusader helmets made for demonic resistance. This specific kind of Terminator armor, unsurprisingly considering it's the Grey Knights, is particularly effective at protecting against warp entities, remaining the chapter standard for Terminator suits over other armor variants for this reason. With that said, I have yapped enough about fictional suits of armor. If you have enjoyed, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Honestly, it would make my day. If there is anything specific that you would like to see a video on, I would love to produce something tailored towards you guys rather than just whatever pops into my head at the time. And as always, thanks to my friend Wafer for the music behind this video. As always, it's great work from her. Thanks again, and I hope that I can see you all soon.